Okay.
Okay, so my name is Nolan, and I will be discussing the Nycrophorus americanus, also known as the American burying beetle.
Hi, my name is Ethan, and I will be defending the Lycades melissa semuelis, also known as the blue butterfly. This debate will be over which would be more devastating to go extinct.
Okay, the American burying beetle is the largest beetle on the planet. It is a vibrant creature with its shiny black shell and splashes of orange throughout the body. The main purpose of this beetle is to spot dead carcasses from up to 2 miles away and start a decomposition process. The decomposition process starts with the beetle stripping the carcass of its remains and covering it with anal fluids to preserve the state for shelter and food sources for other organisms such as larvae to eat. The American burying beetle is a recycler in nature that serves the purpose of decomposing and returning nutrients to the soil. This process allows for other organisms such as ants and flies to remain in a balanced population state. Without the decomposition process of the burying beetle, the energy produced from the decomposition would go to waste instead of fueling other organisms' life. The American burying beetle lives throughout Northern America with a population spread out between 35 different states and some in Canada. Habitat loss and industrialization of land throughout the 20th century have caused population levels of the beetle into a sharp decline. The mating process for the beetle allows for the females to lay up to 30 eggs at a time that will turn into larvae and be raised by the male and female at the same time. After the larvae hatch, they feed on the buried carcass that has been preserved in the acid by the male beetle. Although the beetle might seem to be doing a small, dirty job, the decomposition process completed by the beetle in their short lifespan is beneficial to the environment and other organisms around them. Without the beetle, the dead carcasses would just sit above ground and go to waste instead of being turned into energy for others to use.
Blue corner butterflies are small insects with wingspans similar to a small stamp, known for their vibrant blue wings. Their life cycle comprises of 4 stages: egg, larva, pupa, and adult. Adults have relatively short lifespans ranging from 4 days to 3 weeks. Adults, adult males lay eggs on lupin plants, which is the primary food source for young caterpillars. These eggs are laid before winter and hatch the following year. Caterpillars live for about 3 weeks, then cocoon for approximately 2 weeks before emerging as adults. The common behavior of the blue corner butterflies is to fly around open landscapes which have the lupine plants. Lupine plants are the major food sources for these butterflies. Additionally, blue corner butterflies have a symbiotic relationship with ants. Ants protect caterpillars from predators, while the caterpillars provide nectar for the ants, benefiting both. Both these insects like to be around the lupine plants, which is how the symbiotic relationship formed. These butterflies contribute to ecosystem pollination by transferring pollen similar to bees, promoting the fertilization of other plants, aiding in their growth. Additionally, they serve as indicator species, revealing the overall health of their ecosystem. They provide info as to whether a certain ecosystem is doing well or not.
Although the blue corner butterfly helps ants with their food source and plays a role in pollination, the importance of the butterfly doesn't match the importance of the American burying beetle. The beetle's relationship with ants isn't as symbiotic due to the beetle not gaining anything from the ants, but it's still important for the relationship between the two. The ants are the ones benefiting from the nutrients the beetle brings into the soil, which means with the decline in the American burying beetle would lead to a decline in the population of the ants. So really the ants won't even be able to protect the butterfly if their population would continue to drop due to the beetles not being there. The ability for the beetle to turn small carcasses into food sources for ants and flies while also decomposing the organism plays a key role in the nutrient recycle process. Outside of human industrialization and habitat loss for the beetle, there are no known predators which will help it remain a key role in the ecosystem and prevent from going extinct if the population can come back from the sharp decline.
The American burying beetle does not provide a direct food source for ants in the same way that the blue corner butterfly does by offering nectar directly to the ants. Instead, The beetle's contribution lies in enriching the soil with nutrients, indirectly benefiting the ants by improving the environment for their food sources. The presence of carcasses left behind by the beetle necessitates scavenging efforts by the ants. In contrast, the blue corner butterfly and ants have a more direct and interactive relationship. They coexist in close proximity, making food more readily available for the ants. This proximity allows for a more immediate and mutual exchange of resources. Furthermore, it's worth noting that the American burying beetle may not be as essential because there are other living organisms and plants within ecosystem that also contribute to nutrient-rich soil. Bacteria, fungi, and other insects like flies play similar roles in decomposition and nutrient cycling. In contrast, the process of pollination facilitated by the blue corner butterfly and other pollinators holds greater importance. Many plants can tolerate less nutrient soil, but depend heavily on pollination for reproduction and survival. In this sense, the role of pollinators in maintaining biodiversity and ecosystem function is paramount.
The pollination efforts of the blue corner butterfly are good for the reproduction and survival of the plants, which has its ups. But the problem with these efforts is they bring very little pollen while transporting it compared to other animals and like insects. So their tiny features don't allow them to store enough pollen to make a huge difference. So they're really not specialized for pollen collection. They have other roles. Other organisms such as bees and hummingbirds are way more effective pollinators, which can still get the same job done. Another factor that the American burying beetle has over the butterfly is the ability for the beetle to transport little red mites to their food source directly to feed on the fly eggs that are laid on the carcasses. This symbiotic relationship takes place as the removal of the fly eggs benefits the process for the beetle to decompose the carcass for the food sources of the ants and larvae. The removal of these carcasses are crucial in order to keep the flies and ants populations in a state of equilibrium, and without the beetle, their population would keep growing to where they would end up becoming a problem in the environment.
While blue corner butterflies may not be such great pollinators as some other insects or birds, they excel in pollinating specifically lupin plants. This special relationship is because lupin plants is a major food source for these butterflies. Without the blue corner butterflies, the abundance of lupine plants would significantly decrease. Lupine plants have ecological importance. They help prevent soil erosion and contribute to nitrogen maintenance in the soil. Lupine is particularly valuable for agriculture, as lupine's nitrogen-fixing properties enhance soil quality. Furthermore, lupine has a role in human consumption. On the other hand, those mites, while associated with American burying beetles, are not necessarily beneficial. They not only harm the beetle, but also compete for access to this carrion. This competition creates a complex dynamic among the beetles, the mites, and the ants in the shared ecosystem.
The American burying beetle, as a whole, like to wrap it up, is a great source of added energy and food sources in the environment throughout its decomposition process of the carcasses. Although the beetle plays an important role in the research that goes on in the reproduction process of the organism, researchers are using the beetle to study the evolution of parental care of organisms and the cooperation and conflict that occur in the reproduction stages of the beetle. The reason they're doing this is because both the male and female are present in the reproduction process and the after, which is kind of uncommon between insects. So a lot of researchers are seeing how the relationship impacts the organism and how it could impact and benefit other insects and other organisms. These beetles are important to study as they serve as indicators for ant and fly populations. The decrease in the beetle population would allow the flying ants to become out of balance, which could be negatively impact the environment. Researchers are also studying how the male and female presence impacts the larvae they hatch after mating. Studies have shown that bad parenting in the beetles leads to bad parenting once the larvae turn into an adult beetle in the future. These creatures play a large role. They also play a large role in keeping the ecosystem in balance, whether it's population control, soil enrichment, or being able to be studied by researchers and hope they can find some efforts that can be used in other organisms. It is very important to make sure that we keep the American burying beetle populations growing instead of declining.
Blue conner butterflies play a vital role in our environment. They not only aid in pollinating other plants, but also serve as a crucial indicators of environmental health. These butterflies help us assess the well-being of a specific environment. As indicator species, blue conner butterflies have multiple uses. They are like nature's early warning system, helping us detect disturbances or issues in the environment. This information is invaluable for making decisions about how to improve conservation and maintenance efforts. Furthermore, it's important to study these butterflies because of their close connection to lupine plants. By researching blue conner butterflies, we may discover better ways to protect and conserve lupine plants. This not only benefits the butterflies, but also supports the preservation of the lupine's unique place in our natural world. In summary, blue conner butterflies are essential components of our ecosystems. They provide pollination, acts as an environmental indicator, and offer valuable insights into conservation. Studying them is not only about protecting the butterflies, but also about preserving the delicate balance of nature they represent.
Okay, and then here's our works cited for our project.